This is cool. The entire collection of the MoonSwatches, the original 11 plus the new Mission to Moonshine Gold that I've just bought at the London drop. Today, I'd like to show you through my collection. As many of you will know here on the Swatch 150 channel, I'm a big fan of Swatch watches. I own far too many of them, and this has been the ultimate. Collecting these has been an immense challenge over the last year, but today I want to talk about all of the watches. I'd like to recap a little bit what MoonSwatch has meant for both Swatch and Omega, and then of course we're going to be unboxing this together. At this point in time, I've not even taken this out of the box. They showed it to me inside the box at the time I bought it, but it was immediately sealed back up. It's never been out, and we're going to do that together in just a moment. And then of course, talk a little bit more about the resale values of these still a year on. It is utterly crazy. Now, I've been growing this collection as I've been traveling around the world. When I'm filming my Shmi 150 videos, I travel an awful lot. And in fact, there are watches here that I've bought in the UK, in multiple different locations, in Switzerland, Italy, Canada, the US, and Denmark. It's not just been a case of boom, there they are. They originally introduced the 11, which are actually on the back of every single package: Mission to the Sun, Mission to Mercury, Mission to Venus, Mission on Earth, Mission to the Moon, Mission to Mars, Mission to Jupiter, Mission to Saturn, Mission to Uranus, Mission to Neptune, Mission to Pluto, the 8 or 9 planets, and Mission to Moon, Mission to Sun as well. Now, this is where it's been an interesting one, because when it originally launched, I actually, believe it or not, queued up overnight on Oxford Street in central London. We joined the queue at around midnight for the drop the following morning on Saturday. Now, that's when, to put it bluntly, all hell broke loose. The shops were pretty much closed immediately. They were able to deliver the first couple to the people right at the front, but then things quickly turned aggressive, and unfortunately no more were sold, no names were taken, nothing like that, and it was basically completely wasted. Completely wasted 12 hours or so on the cold streets of central London. But hey, it's all part of the fun. Lo and behold, though, they did eventually open up, managed to join the queue again, only to be, believe it or not, the Sunday, the day after, the one person behind where they ran out. That was immensely frustrating. Fast forward a few days though, and I'd gone back to the shop every single day. And I say the shop, I mean all of the central London shops. And we were in luck. We were at Carnaby Street when a stock came in, and we managed to purchase Mission to the Sun, Mission to Venus, and then I think also a few days later, Mission to Mars, to acquire 3 of them to get started. The Mission to the Sun was actually the one that I originally wanted, and it's the one you've probably seen me wearing the most since. Now, I had a desire to try and collect all 11, and it's taken a fair bit of time since. Like I said, picking them up in different places. I think I bought Mission to Jupiter in Toronto. I got Mission to Uranus when I went to Swatch to Beale. They had just had a stock of them, to the home of Swatch, and I did the drive-through. I managed to pick up Mission to Neptune recently. That has been one of the absolute hardest watches imaginable to pick up. The values of those are crazy. And in fact, the ones that really stand out to me the most have also changed a little bit over time as well. Mission to the Sun was always one that I thought I'd be a big fan of. Mission on Earth, I actually originally didn't like very much, and I've really grown to it. The color scheme of the kind of pastel mint green with the navy blue is super smart, and I like it an awful lot. I've also worn Mission to the Moon a lot. I feel like it's the MoonSwatch, the history with Omega, the Speedmasters, the fact that it was the original Moon watch has made Mission to the Moon the kind of go-to one for me. So it took the best part of a year to actually manage to purchase all of these. The Jupiter one, actually, believe it or not, was completely coincidental. It was when I was in Denmark to collect this car, my Zenvo TSRS. On the day I collected that from the factory, we drove from the factory into Copenhagen and stumbled upon one of the Fiat 500s, the roving retailers, if you will, traveling around, and managed to purchase that, which is a little bit of luck, a little bit mind-blowing really, but that's how it's all managed to come together. I go to Swatch shops in every country I visit. I collect all of the destination specials and probably buy 10 to 15 a month, something like that, every month, because I'm obsessed, and I probably shouldn't be quite so obsessed. So this brings us forward a little bit more towards the present day, and this one, the Moonshine Gold. But before we get to that specific watch, the interesting impact of all of this, because when they showed this and released on social media some teasers of what was coming, there was a lot of negativity and hostility towards Swatch. And I think it's quite an interesting one to study some of the financials behind the company. The Swatch Group owns Omega and a whole series of other brands. Now, in 2021, prior to the release of these in March 2022, Swatch Group's, or Swatch I should say, just the Swatch watches, total turnover was 218 million Swiss francs. The MoonSwatches, because they've told us they've sold 1.5 million of them, that's 250 million Swiss francs. So in less than a year of these being on sale, these alone have outdone the number of total Swatch watches that were previously sold in an entire year. To put that into perspective, they've probably doubled production, double turnover. For a company, that is a huge, huge, huge big deal. The other thing that's crazy is given that they made 1.5 million of these, that they're still so hard to get. That's the thing that's quite hard to get the head around. So they teased that something was coming, that something was going to be called Mission to Moonshine Gold, Mission to the Moonshine Gold. Moonshine Gold, for those that know about these things, is a proprietary gold used by Omega since 2019 on various of their different watches, including, of course, some Speedmasters. So it was kind of, how is this going to cross over? What's this going to be? And they announced that it was going to launch on the 7th of March, which would be a full moon, so you can see the kind of connection growing here, and that there were only going to be a few select locations. Those were going to be in Tokyo, Japan, Milan, Italy, London, United Kingdom, and Zurich, Switzerland, at least for this drop. The idea here is that there'll be different cities at the next month's drop, with the moon, or rather the Moonshine Gold details on here, having come from manufacturing during the previous month's full moon night, or the previous full moon. Quite complicated to get your head around. At the time, of course, there was no information. Was this going to be something mass-produced? Was this going to be something limited? Was this going to be something that would cost thousands of pounds, perhaps with a full gold dial or maybe a gold crown or something like that? Who could possibly know? And certainly the rumor mill, the gossip forums were absolutely on overdrive with this, with what this was going to be. But you have to think about the respective price points. A Swatch for £2,000 is getting very close to a real Omega. So what could they do? Anyway, when the time arrived in Tokyo, Japan, all was revealed across the entire Swatch universe, you could say, on social media, and this would be the watch. At that point, we promptly, and by we, I actually mean my girlfriend, Puppy150, very kindly went to join the queue in London at the Royal Exchange in Bank. Now, we didn't know how many people would go. We didn't know how many watches there would be, but similarly to doing the overnight run the year before, we were like, this is kind of fun. Let's just give it a go. I had a meeting here, in fact, so I had to be here before heading over a little bit after to go and join. But when I joined, we endured the cold. It was pretty chilly for the afternoon. Sun did come out, fortunately, and at 6 p.m. London time, the same as 7 p.m. in Zurich and Milan, these went on sale, and, well, here we are. So let's basically unbox this a little bit. Let me just move the moon itself, the original moon, slightly to the side, because this is heavily based on the moon. So we have the outer sleeve, as before, very familiar with all of this, with the details about temperatures and other elements of the planet, or in this case, the moon itself. When you open up the packaging, you actually have this card on the top, which actually tells you full moon production certificate. The Omega Moonshine Gold seconds hand, featured in this bioceramic MoonSwatch Mission to the Moon, was born during the full moon night of February 2023. Of course, launched during the full moon night of March 2023. Here we have the watch. The usual pamphlets and certificates and so forth accompanying it in the packaging, but then crucially we want to get this out. Pull out the central piece. Careful with this, because as I understand it, they only sold around 220 of these in London on launch day. Certainly a lot of people will not have made it, but having, well, my girlfriend having stood in the queue for as many hours as she did, we have managed to have one right here. Let me pull off the film from the top of it, and this is it. This is the Moonshine Gold Mission to the Moon. And as you can see, the chronograph seconds hand is right there in Moonshine Gold, costing a little bit more than the others. The others are £207 here in the UK. This was £250, so £43 more. I did think it would probably be something that cost a little bit more even than that, but effectively it is the same watch as the regular Mission to the Moon, but with that unique detailing in the form of the seconds hand. So we still have the familiar Velcro strap, the Mission to the Moon battery cover graphic over the rear of it, along with some writing written around the outside. Dream big, fly higher, explore the universe, reach for the planets, enjoy the mission. I quite like that. Very nice little quote. And of course, we've seen the actual watches themselves as we've been discovering the full collection as and when I've acquired them along the way. It's a really, really nice thing. Now, arguably, massively, let's say, overhyped. They only did this drop about 48 hours, or they only announced the drop about 48 hours before. So there was this period of what on earth is this going to be? And I think a lot of people went wild for it as an idea, but equally a frustration, knowing that it was only going to be in these 4 cities. Who knows what the future is going to be? But obviously, if you think about Swatch as a business, you can understand how this hype is critical to the success and how it's been such a big part. And it's not only just that as well, by the way. Even Omega sales of Speedmasters have flown higher than ever before following this. That's what's so crazy. Even seeing comments on social media from people saying, I couldn't get one of these, so I went and bought a Speedmaster. And that's just like insane to think. It was also quite fun because it happened to be a Tuesday drop, a Speedy Tuesday, and I've had a Speedy Tuesday Ultraman Speedmaster before as well, as it happens. And that whole thing just tied in absolutely perfectly. Now, interestingly, for those who flip these, and as you can see, I wear them all. In fact, Mission to the Sun is absolutely filthy. I've worn Uranus quite a lot. I've worn Mars quite a lot. I've worn Pluto quite a lot. I've worn Moon quite a lot. I enjoy wearing these. I've not yet worn Neptune, and we'll get to that, but the values of some of these are really, really interesting. They've yo-yoed up and down like crazy. In the UK in particular, always above what they cost new, because simply you can't get one. The day a stock arrives at one of the shops, one of the retailers, there's a queue of people lined up who, many of which will be selling them on StockX and eBay and all of that kind of stuff. But if you want one, you just got to be there all the time, asking all the time, and really lucky, basically. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day, or putting in just many, 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 many hours. So the majority of them trade for a little bit over what they cost, maybe 20%, 30%, 40%, that kind of thing, up towards £300. A couple of them have still gone crazy. For example, Moon, Mission to the Moon, Mission to Mercury, each of which are, at the moment, I want to say about double what they cost new, that kind of bracket. This actually hasn't gone as hyped at this point as I expected. It's about 2.5 to 3 times what it cost new at the moment. No, because it's slightly more expensive, probably only a bit over 2 times what it cost new. But this one, Mission to Neptune, which has become super unobtainium, which is actually an interesting story because one of the originally delivered ones had a ink dye problem, so they pulled them off sale and didn't put them back on sale for about 7 or 8 months after the original release. And there are only a few trickling through. This one is in the region of, I want to say, 8 or 9 times what it cost new on the secondhand market, so to speak. So that is by far the most valuable in terms of resale. But I think when people realize how rare this one is, it's going to take that crown. It's going to be the kind of like creme de la creme of the MoonSwatch collaboration. And what a collaboration. I absolutely love it. I have so much fun with these. Really, 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 really enjoy them. I like wearing them an awful lot. I find them very comfortable, very lightweight on the wrist, have a cool story behind them, and I don't have to feel pressured and stressed in the way that I sometimes do with a much more expensive watch on the wrist, depending where I'm going, that kind of thing. Obviously, that's the world we live in. I'm sure you've seen the videos from London and you know all about that if you've followed any of the news and stories and the likes over recent years. But this is super cool. And it's been a long old project to collect them all. But here we are, all 12. I'm not sure if there are many people out there who own all 12 at this moment in time, but I'm super pleased that all of those hours have actually paid off and it's been possible. So thanks for watching on Swatch 150. Who knows what might be number 13 in the Swatch and Omega collaborations.